Okay, everybody, that sound of the clicky clack means it's another episode of TV Oblivion. And I'm your host, Pete Costanis. And this is episode 3, season 1. Today's date is June 7th, 2022. And thank you for joining me today. And this will be a very interesting show. I hope you enjoyed the previous one, that was episode 2. I had a lot of fun and did a lot of research on it. And that's the most fun of that. Okay. Today I will discuss 7 shows from each decade, like I did on the other episode. I will read off those very quickly. From the 1940s, it'll be Mary Kay and Johnny. The 1950s, watch Mr. Wizard. The 1960s, the Yogi Bear Show. From the 1970s, O'Hara, U.S. Treasury. 1980s will be Darkroom. The 1990s will be the Royal Family, and the 2000s, will be What About Joan? Okay. Right now, the program will go into a commercial break, and this program is brought to you by Nestle Toll House Cookies. And here is a commercial from 1979, and they're still made to this day. Probably a lot of different, but I remember when this commercial came out, it was wonderful, and the cookies look so good, and they're one of my favorites. So here we go.
My son Charlie helps out quite a bit around here.
Charlie, almost finished?
He always gives his best for us. So I like to do my best for him, like making his favorite, Toll House cookies. I don't use imitation chocolate. I use Nestle's real chocolate morsels. Charlie loves the taste of real chocolate, and I like the creaminess of Nestle's.
Anything else, Mom?
Mm-hmm. You help me eat some Toll House cookies? Nestle's real chocolate morsels. My family's worth it.
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial. I certainly did. And there's nothing like fresh baked homemade cookies, especially chocolate chip, coming right out of the oven. Oh, and more satisfying than having a big glass of milk. I still eat that way. I don't know why. It's wonderful. Who cares what people think? Okay. At the beginning of the program, I discussed the lineup of the shows. I'm not going to read them again, so I'm going to start right away with the first show, and this is from the late 1940s, and that is Mary Kay and Johnny. And a lot of people are asking themselves, and probably asking me, I never heard of this show, but this was a long, long time ago, and this is very important because Mary Kay and Johnny was the first sitcom ever aired, and on network television, and it aired live, and it aired on 3 networks. First, the Dumont Network, that was like the 4th network, and then it moved to CBS and NBC. I think in Chicago it aired the Dumont Network. I think it aired on Channel 7, Channel 9. In Chicago, Channel 7 was WBKB. No, I'm sorry, WENR. Excuse me, WBKB was Channel 2. Yes, I think it was that. Then they switched. That's another story. And then it moved to Channel 5, which was not WMEQ. It was WNBQ. So that's a little television history from me. And so that ran about how many? It ran for 3 years on 3 networks. And it was a multi-camera show. And first it ran about 15 minutes, and then it had commercials, and that was from 1947 to 1949. And then it ran up to 30 minutes, like the standard time of a sitcom. And black and white, of course. There wasn't color around. And the plot was, it was a bank employee that was played, that was Johnny and his crazy wife. She wasn't stupid, but that's pre Lucy Ricardo from Lucille Ball. And it was not crazy. It was enjoyable to watch. And and it caught on. It was sometimes it got too cute and it got too like that, but it was very popular at the time. Okay, and let's see. Trying to find who starred. Okay, and the actors that played was Johnny Stearns and Mary Kay Stearns, and they were married at the time. And so they were. It was just like I Love Lucy, with a real couple like Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, and that's amazing like that. And the funny thing is, when it was broadcast live, it was not recorded. No. So so they recorded on kinescopes. I can't say that word. Like you would, they would take a camera and place it in front of a television set and just, film it like that. And so they did that way. And then there's a story about Dumont with all their television shows and their archive. They dump it in the East River, which is a stupid thing they did. And then, believe it or not, there was one episode survived, and that is in the Paley Center of Media. I think it's in probably Beverly Hills, in New York. I went to New York one day, and I went to the museum. I should have looked it up, but I didn't. So, and if I do go back to New York, I'll go search it and watch it. And let's see. And the actor Johnny Stearns, he was a very good actor, producer, director, and he was the original producer of the Tonight Show, starring Steve Allen. He was the first host of that, and he didn't do much acting, not really, And he was married to Mary Kay Jones, that was her name, and they were married for 55 years, a long time. And Mary Kay died in 2018. She was the age of 93. She lived a long life. That's wonderful, And Johnny Stearns, he died in December 1st, 2001. He was 85. So that's they live a long life. They seem like a nice couple. They really do. Okay. And so that was the first sitcom ever aired, and it was that was a groundbreaker for that medium. So that's good. Okay. Now to the 1950s. And this is about Watch Mr. Wizard. If you grew up in the 50s and 60s and the 80s, you would remember this show. And it was like, this was like it was educational, pre-PBS. And the host of the show was Don Herbert. And he hosted that. He was Mr. Wizard. And the shows was Watch Mr. Wizard and Mr. Wizard's World. And he was born in July 10th, 1917, in Waconia, Minnesota. He died June 12th, 2007. He lived a long life. He really did. And he demonstrated a lot of science projects and a lot of cool things, and it was wonderful. It was a wonderful show. I didn't watch the original show. Maybe caught a rerun here and there, but his show was revived in the 1980s on Nickelodeon, and it was Mr. Wizard's World, and that caught on too. That was wonderful. I guess kids are still interested in science. That ran for about 5 years. But the original one that aired in first, the production was here in Chicago for about from 1951 to 55, and then it moved to New York for 10 years until it debuted on March 3rd, 1951, and it ended June 27, 1965. So there were about 547 episodes. Wow, that was. And then he demonstrated, and he brought some kids on the stage, and they were enamored by what he's doing, and it was great. And then they had Mr. Wizard science clubs all over North America. I don't know if it's still around, but he's like a very nice man, very nice. It was revived in the 70s, but in Canada, in only about a year, and then guess I didn't catch on. And when it was canceled when it stopped airing on Nickelodeon, it aired from October 3rd to 1983 to 1990. The reruns still aired at that time. So it's still, there's a few episodes on DVD if you can find them. It's also, if you have streaming service on Amazon or any channels, it's on Pluto TV. You can go catch that. So, and the segments were a few. I'll read them off. It's like Everyday Magics, Oddity, New Frontiers, Challenge, all those. So it was, like I said, it was a good educational show, and Don Herbert was a wonderful man. Okay, next up we have Yogi Bear, and he was one of the first characters coming from the Hanna-Barbera factory. The first one was Huckleberry Hound. He's not really the first, but there were others previously. And Yogi Bear made his debut as a supporting character on the Huckleberry Hound show. Oh, I love that show. That's wonderful. And he had his friend Boo Boo. The plots were basically the same. He lived in Jellystone Park with Ranger Smith, and he was sometimes his friend and his nemesis. And Yogi Bear always wanted to steal picnic baskets from visitors that went to the park, and sometimes he succeeded, sometimes he didn't. And he was a wonderful character. He was not mean, sometimes a little obnoxious, but he was funny. And he's still a famous character. And of course, he had the picnic baskets, and he goes, "Hey, hey, hey!" That's one of his catchphrases. And of course, "I'm smarter than the average bear." And Boo Boo was seemed like he was a reasonable, down to earth guy, and he always tried to tell Yogi, "Don't do that, don't do this." He always gave him advice, but Yogi was stubborn. He never listened. He didn't want to do that. And the voice of Yogi Bear was Daw Butler's. He did the voice of that, and other greetings he did. "Hello, Mr. Ranger, sir," or "Hey there, Boo Boo." He did that. He also had a girlfriend. His name was Cindy Bear. Remember her? Excuse me. And this was syndicated. The show it premiered in 1958. No, it premiered in 1958. But his own show, the Yogi Bear Show, premiered in 1961. And there were other cartoons that were included in the show, and it was sponsored by Kellogg's. You remember those? If you see those commercials on YouTube, you'll understand. You'll see. And the other characters was Snagglepuss and Yankee Doodle, and also Hokey Wolf came later. And they did a animated feature film. "Hey there, it's Yogi Bear." And I remember Yogi's arc that was in the 70s, and they showed all the Hanna-Barbera characters. That was fun. And and they made a movie of him not too long ago. I didn't see it. Some people told me it was okay, but well, that's how it is. I love the character so much. He was funny. And believe it or not, he made a cameo on an episode of Flintstones. They, I think the Flintstones and the Rebels did go to Jellystone Park. I think they did, but that was prehistoric time. And then, there was Yogi Bear. Oh, yeah. If you can find that, it's hilarious. Okay. Now, next up, we have the 1970s. And this here's a one season program, and it was called O'Hara United States Treasury or U.S. Treasury. And that was produced by Jack Webb, famous for Joe Friday on the TV series Dragnet. And that premiered September 17, 1971, ended March 10, 1972. There was a pilot and had 22 episodes, not very much. And the starring role was David Jansen, famous for Richard Kimball on The Fugitive. And I've never seen this show. I remember the promos, and I guess it didn't catch on, but it had a lot of guest stars in the show. And let me see, read some famous ones. They had a lot of them. They had George Takei as Sulu from Star Trek. They had Yvonne Craig from Batgirl. They had Alan Hale Jr., the skipper from Gilligan's Island. They had Frank Gorshin, the Riddler. Will Geer from The Waltons, and and Marion Ross from Happy Days, and Jessica Tandy was there. Lindsay Wagner, that's one of her early shows, The Bionic Woman. Oh, that's wonderful. And it didn't do very well because it was on Friday night, and it was against the Partridge Family in Room 222. And the plot of the character was, let's see, he was David Jansen portrayed Treasury agent Jim O'Hara, and he moved from Nebraska, and because his wife and child died, and he put in an application with the United States Department of Treasury. So the plots were like trying to find criminals and all that. Sometimes he worked undercover, and he was the only regular of the show, just like The Fugitive. It really was. Well, in The Fugitive, they had the man, I forgot his name, that tried to pursue him, if I think of him. Anyway, so it's a shame it didn't last very long. And then later on, David Jansen starred in what was the other one? I can't think of it. So anyway, so he was Harry O. Thank you. Yeah, it was Harry O. Yeah, that show was wonderful. I'll talk about that show in a later time, a later episode. But he was a wonderful man, and he died in February 1980. And but he's famous for The Fugitive. He started another previous show called Richard Diamond, Private Detective, which featured a Mary Tyler Moore. You heard her voice, but you never saw her on screen. So that's another fascinating show. So here's another TV show that went to the graveyard of one-hit wonders. Okay. Next up, I will talk about Darkroom, but before I do, we'll go to a commercial break briefly. And this program is brought to you by America Online. And the guy that's in the commercial, you would recognize his voice. And I will tell you who it is after the commercial break. Thank you.
Your boss will think you're working.
But thanks to America Online, I'm really just goofing off.
America Online. Welcome.
Okay, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for America Online. The man that is speaking, that's actor Nick Bakay, who is famous for the voice of Salem, the cat on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Excuse me. What a wonderful actor! I love his voice. Salem is the biggest troublemaker around. He didn't want to be a cat. He wanted to be a Snoopy on Peanuts. He didn't want to be a dog. He wanted to be other things or other animals. But Salem had these quips, and he was wonderful. He was a wonderful character. I loved him. And America Online is still around. It still is. And it went online very early, like that. and it started the dial-up service, and then it bought. Remember Netscape? It bought that, and then Yahoo came, and then they were in competition, and right now it just pushed them into back burner. So, right, Verizon owns the company now. So I never used it. So that's a shame, and maybe I'll try it out sometime. We'll see. Okay, back to the show. Next up is from the 1980s, Darkroom, and this is like it was like a anthology series, like for example, Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, and Night Gallery, and Tales from the Crypt. So, and this premiered November 27, 1981, and up to January 15th, 1982. Very short indeed. And it was hosted by James Coburn, wonderful actor. He makes me laugh. He's famous for his movies, like in like Flint and others. He also did some Schlitz malt liquor commercials, maybe Schlitz Light. I remember that. And it was a very scary movie. I watched this, and it was pretty good. I liked it, and it had a lot of cast of characters, very famous ones, and so it's a shame, like that. And there were only let's see how many episodes. They had 7 episodes, but it was 16 segments, and that was it. So that's a shame. And then it disappeared. Then when the Sci-Fi Channel was created in the 90s, they aired it with the pilot episode. And also USA Network. When I go to a comic book convention, I do see DVDs of that. That was bootleg, and it was recorded probably, I don't know, reruns and all that. I never bought it, but it is now on DVD officially. So you can purchase it, I think. I think you could purchase it on... I don't think it's here. I think it's in Europe or something. It's region free. I'm not sure. I didn't check that out. But it was another one came and went, but it had potential. It really did. It was, I don't know, people are just weren't interested at the time, but it goes into that category of classic anthology, weird shows, like what I mentioned before, Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, and Night Gallery. Okay. Next up, and we have the 1990s, and that is The Royal Family. And it was a sitcom. It ran from September 18, 1991 to 1992. That starred Red Fox. The executive producer was Eddie Murphy. And it starred Red Fox and also Della Reese, a wonderful singer. And let's see. They also had, it aired on CBS, but it didn't last long. It became a little successful, but the problem was Red Fox died during production. He suffered he suffered a heart attack. He's famous for his heart attack. I'm coming, Elizabeth. He did that, but this was a real deal, and a lot of people thought he was kidding, but he was not. No. And he just fell on the floor. And then he was taken to the hospital, and he died later that evening. What a shame. He was just funny, man. I like that. And after, he was missing for a few episodes, and then they brought in Jackie Harry, famous for 227, as his sister. But they didn't last long. So, and, so let's see. It ran for 1 year. One season, and it had 17 episodes. There were 2 that are unaired, so that's a shame. And so I remember watching it. It was funny, and I remember one scene where he said Red Fox said something, and Della Reese chased him with a dish, and chased him in the dining room. It was hilarious. Okay, so there's another one. And then the last one we have from the 2000s is What About Joan? It starred Joan Cusack. And her character's name was Joan Gallagher. She was a Chicago school teacher, and it also starred Kyle Chandler. You would remember him from his role in what was the one? Early Edition, and he was in Homefront. That was another show, not very long, and this was filmed in Chicago, and so it was filmed. It was a live studio audience in Chicago, very rare at that time, and but they edited in L.A. like that. And she lived in the Ravenswood neighborhood at the time. Maybe she's still there. Probably. I don't know. And that didn't last very long. I remember watching it. She's a very funny lady. You know, it ran for 2 seasons, and it had the number of episodes was 21. There were 10 unaired. It hasn't been rerun since. I don't know. I guess not. You know, and she was famous for that movie Working Girl with Melanie Griffith, and I saw that movie in the theater, and it was wonderful. I've seen it about 3 or 4 times, you know, and on TV. And I remember Sigourney Weaver; she played her Melanie Griffith's boss. So, and Joan Cusack played Melanie's roommate, or I think it was a roommate or a friend. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen the movie. So there's another, aired and gone. So that was that. I haven't seen her lately. I don't know what she's doing now. You know, she disappeared. Her brothers, John Cusack, they're all from Evanston, Illinois, and they came from a theater family. Very talented people. Okay. So that is it for today for episode 3 of TV Oblivion. I talked about, I'll go down very quickly. I talked about Mary Kay and Johnny, Watch Mr. Wizard, The Yogi Bear Show, O'Hara, U.S. Treasury, Darkroom, Royal Family, and What About Joan? And I had a good time. I really did. And the next episode, I will do the same. Sometimes I might add a little theme songs in there if I have time like that. But it'd be kind of fun. Okay, this is Pete Casanas, your host of TV Oblivion. Thank you for joining me. I just did another podcast for Vanished Chicagoland Stories. You can check that out. They will both be published soon. You can find them wherever podcasts are available. I also have a YouTube channel, Vanished Chicagoland Stories, and also I created one for TV Oblivion. If you want to log into that and listen, also I'll post it on my social media accounts. And I hope you can enjoy it. This podcast is very enjoyable. I love it. I love doing it. I love talking about TV history. It's in my blood. You can't help it. Okay. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day. And here is the Pick Pluck song that's ending the show. Take care, everybody. So long.